name is Ricky Brown Jr., and this is my exceptional story. When you are a young man who has a lot going on inside, you seem to be a little softer than a lot of the other young people. It can be a bit much because sometimes, and it's really unfortunate, young men like that get bullied a lot. And when it comes to that softer side, it turns out that, and I don't want to be stereotypical, and I don't want to offend um, any people out there who may have had a different experience. And I know now there's a lot more forward thinking, and I can appreciate that. But at the time when I was younger, that softer side tended to be associated more with femininity and being gay. The reality of it is that I was what we would now consider an LGBTQ youth. I didn't exactly understand that at the time, and I didn't know it. And maybe that just happened to be a part of the way that I expressed myself as an LGBTQ youth. And that's not everyone's experience. There are some LGBTQ youth whose experiences are totally different. Because we're not a monolith, we're not all the same, but this is who I am or who I was. So with that being said, I was very free. I was free spirited. I was artistic. I was very much in touch with my feminine side, though I still was in touch with my masculine side too. So I kind of um, walked this strange sort of rope um, that at times seemed that I was very much so on the more macho or masculine end of the spectrum in certain ways, but then would flip and I'd be more on the feminine end of the spectrum. And I think that that was just a part of me trying to figure out exactly who I was and where my place was. I started noticing that a lot of the feelings that I've had for certain male friends or certain guys and things like that, some of those feelings they started to change. Um, there were some guy friends who I still felt the same about, like that's my friend, my buddy, my dog, whatever. But then there were other guy friends where it's like I liked him as a friend, but I couldn't explain it. It was like different. It was like the way that I liked like certain girls because there were girlfriends of mine who were just friends, like some of the guy friends, but there were girlfriends that I liked in a different kind of way. Like there was a different kind of feeling. I wanted to kiss them. And long before I knew anything about sex and sexuality, I knew that I wanted to kiss some people. So there were some friends that I wanted to kiss, and all of them weren't girls. Oh boy. When I tell you, I didn't know exactly what that meant and what to do with that. But I still wasn't convinced, even as people started picking on me and even started calling me gay for the first time. I wasn't sure that that is who I was. And then, how are you going to tell me who I knew enough to know that you weren't going to tell me who I was, but who was I? I really didn't know. I mean, it was a strange sort of feeling uh, to not really understand what was happening to you, what why you were thinking certain things, why you were feeling certain ways. I did everything. I prayed about it because, and I was raised in the church, and I believed in God. And oh my gosh, the church. That was, I mean, some people in the church, the idea of being gay, no, that wasn't going to work. That wasn't going to fly. So I was really hesitant about embracing that. I was really hesitant about embracing the idea of being gay. And I still feel it now when I think about it, just back then, because of the fact that I didn't want to offend the people in church. But let me tell you something. Even before I really understood who I was and before I had the maturity that I have now, I understood that I had a relationship with God, and it was more important than any relationship with anybody at the church. So it wasn't so much the people, though I did worry about the people at the church. It wasn't so much the people at the church that I was worried about. I was worried about offending and hurting God. Now, who gonna hurt God? Who is gonna hurt God? Yeah, but you know what? I felt like this. I had been taught that, God was a parent, brother, sister, mother, all of those things in one. I'd been taught about Jesus Christ and him dying for us and how much he loved us. And when I think about that, and even when I thought about that back then, I thought about my grandmothers and how much they loved me. I thought about my dad and how much he loved me. I identified that love with God. And when I tell you that that love is so special and that I could feel it even from a very young age, I understood that that was a bond that I didn't want to break. I don't care about how people say that, we are raised in the church. We just know what our parents taught us. We know what the expectations are, but that doesn't really have anything to do with us. We don't really. No, I had a very personal experience with God from a very early and young age. And I understood the power of his love. And that was important to me. And that was something that I didn't want to lose. I didn't want to be absent from that love. I remember when I lost my father's mother, my paternal grandmother, Ethel, who I loved dearly, like a second mother. When she got sick, I knew full well what death meant. By this point, I'd lost a great grandmother, and I'd lost my father. So I knew the permanence and the profound void, the absence, the blackness, the emptiness that death could leave and that it could bring. And I was so worried when my grandmother got sick and they were saying that she may not have long to live. And I remember praying so hard. The first time they said she only had like a couple of months to live, I was like, oh my God, God, please Please, I'm not ready to lose her. If I could just have one more year, if I could have one more year, that would mean everything. After I said that prayer, and life kind of went back to, it kind of went back to normal. Before I knew it, a year had passed. I asked God to give me one more year, and He gave me one more year. I will never, ever forget that. He gave me that extra year, and in that experience, I knew that God answered prayers. And even though I was hurt when I lost her, I forever understood that God answered prayers and that He loves me and that I can go to Him whenever I need to. And I do understand that you don't always get everything you ask for, but you can still ask. And there's been so many times that he's answered since then, and He gives you what you need. He does, and I'm a living witness to that because He has blessed me and He has given me so much to say that I was that little boy growing up in Cedar Terrace Project. So I definitely wanted to protect that relationship with Him. And that would be one of the issues that I sort of would face throughout my teenage years, just wanting to make sure that I didn't lose sight of my relationship with God, and that if there was any way possible that He could fix this and where I would not be gay or bi or whatever it was that was happening to me, that I just wanted Him to do it, fix it. I even remember praying to God that, please, I need to look like a man. I don't want to start looking like a woman. It's amazing the things that you think about. You don't know. You're a kid. You're a teenager. And back then there were so many stereotypes and so many things that kids today don't necessarily have to worry. Well, I'm not gonna say they don't have to worry about it, but there are people out there that are doing things that are helping them to see themselves in ways that I didn't have. I do remember when I was young or youngish, I remember there was a singer, Sylvester. However, people kind of knew about Sylvester, but it's not like now, because people used to know or kind of know about a lot of people, but they weren't really truly, let's say, the music industry didn't sort of like put them out as out artists. They didn't push them as out artists. So at the time, I just had a lot of assumptions and presumptions and things like that. And I didn't know how diverse the community was, and there wasn't enough representation. And there was a lot of, just having to fill in the gaps for myself and piece things together. And so, again, I did silly things like even saying a prayer that I wanted to look like a man or look more masculine, whatever. Now, I didn't know that years later I would make some of my money as a female impersonator. Now, if I had known that, I may not have said that prayer. That's why it's so important for young people to see and know and understand that there are people like them out there, and we come in all shades, um, all shapes, from all nationalities, all cultures, all religious backgrounds. Um, and there is somebody out there like them. And really, really, um, I really I needed that at the time because I had to go through a lot to sort of find my way. There was a lot of fear and a lot of worry about what I would become and what people would think of me. Um, and I remember my mom calling me in, and this was, I guess, I was maybe in the 8th grade. And the funny thing is I had just we'd had something going on at the school, and we were doing like kind of like a little what is it that I'm looking like a little talent show of sorts, or variety show or whatever the choir department or whatever had we decided to do something like that, and it was for fun and for kicks, and I decided to um, do Like a Virgin, perform to Like a Virgin by Madonna. Very queer. Um, and I didn't care. I just wanted to be me. Um, I was always battling, you know, with wanting to do what I wanted to do, but then also trying to fit in and not have the people from the outside sort of ostracize me or bully me or push me away. Um, so it was difficult because there was a part of me that was very strong and wanted to be who I was, but then there was this other part that was concerned because I didn't want to be so different that no one wanted to associate with me. I wouldn't have any friends or anything like that, or I'd have to fight, or God forbid, I'd run from a fight and go home and fight my mom. I didn't want that. I was concerned. My mother noticed that I was having these issues before I was really even willing to let anybody know or to really share it or to really talk about it. So my mom called me into the kitchen one day, and she was cooking, and wanted to talk to me. She's like, "Baby, I want to talk to you." And I was like, "Okay." So she fixed the food for us and everything, set everything up. And, sat down. She says, "Now, baby, I'm your mama, and I love you, and I'm gonna always love you. And you can tell me anything. I just want to know, are you gay?" I didn't know what to do with that. Like I said, my head was spinning. I was like, "What's going on here?" I couldn't believe that she was asking me that. And all of a sudden, I started feeling afraid. I was like, "Oh my God, she's going to be angry with me. She's not going to love me. There's going to be, it's going to be something bad is going to come of this." But and I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to discuss that. I wasn't ready to share that, even though she told me, "I'm your mama. I love you. I'm gonna always love you. You're my baby. You can talk to me about anything." I just wasn't ready to share that. I wasn't even sure about it. I wasn't sure as to what was going on with me. And again, I did not want that label. And what's so sad is part of the reason I didn't want that label is because of the way that the world, the way other people viewed people that were gay. And I didn't want to be viewed in that way. the way that the people in the church acted. I didn't want it. I was having conversations with God and trying to make sure that we were cool and that, you know, I wasn't pushing myself further away from him, further away from his kingdom, that, I wasn't falling out with him and saying, well, if you can fix this, and God can fix anything if he feels it needs to be fixed. So, but, you know, fix it, do something with it, because I don't want to be this if everybody's going to hate me. And if you're going to hate me, I don't want this. So at that point, I, I think I told her no, I wasn't gay. That's pretty much the way that it was. She didn't buy it. I mean, and I'm not saying she challenged me about it or whatever. She's like, well, you can talk to me about anything, and I love you. Um, I remember feeling afterwards so uncomfortable, like, oh my God, am I gay? Did I just lie to her? Um, I was worried. I was worried. Is she gonna see me differently? Does she see me differently? And I didn't I didn't want to be different. And that was the big thing, because at that time, being gay to me felt different, and not in a positive way. This was not positive because the people in the world did not make it seem positive. As time progressed, um, I started having secret relationships with some of my friends. Uh, it really makes me feel bad because I was going through all of this. And at one point, I was involved in a relationship with a young woman who, as I started really questioning things, I was honest with her about it, which did put some stress on our relationship, um, and caused some problems for us. And then later on, I caused some problems for us because I moved from it being this thing where this is what I was thinking about, this is what I'm concerned about, this is what I'm wondering about, to this is what I'm doing. And so at one, even though there were times when she was very jealous before that, now she actually had some legitimate reasons to be jealous and upset or whatever. And things became kind of volatile. And that is the one thing that I really regret, because seeking your true self and trying to find out who you are, um, I don't think that it should hurt you, and I don't think it should hurt someone else. And so if I have any regret, it's because of the pain and the hurt that I feel like I caused her trying to understand who I was. And if I could do anything over again about all of that, I would change that. I would definitely do something about that, especially knowing what I know. If I could just take the knowledge that I have and go back, that is something that I would do something about. I think more so than anything in my entire life, because most things I would not go back and redo and do over again. But if I'm honest, that is the one thing, the one aspect of my life that I would go back, because this is a person that I felt like I hurt, and I didn't mean to, and I didn't think that she deserved it. Um, and so I would do that differently. I would do that over again. And that's one of the unfortunate things about life is that there are some things you just cannot change and you can't go back and redo. That's one of those things. But because of what I was going through with that, and then with a few other girls that I just kind of like dated here and there in college, and while I was also now really starting to experience and experiment more with guys, I I started to let me pause. So after that particular relationship, which sort of took me out of high school and into my college years, I then dated a few other young ladies in college here and there, nothing really serious or anything like that. And I started to experiment more with men and experience more things with guys. And I really then started to question, okay, who am I? And I now know that I definitely am somehow a part of this gay community, even though I don't know exactly where I fit in, but I am. I had an awakening. I realized that, you know what? This is who I am. But even more so, as I talked to God, I still felt Him. I still felt like He was there. And I knew somehow that no matter what, inside of here, I still felt God. I still felt Him talking to me. I still felt Him tugging at me. I still felt Him pulling me. Um, and I knew that no matter where I went in this life, being bisexual, now panamorous, He was always going to be there. And I didn't have to worry about losing Him. And so I felt free to just be. So from that point on, I just decided I'm going to date and find whatever love comes my way. The funniest thing, though, is that I didn't have such a hard time coming out to my family. My mom had already made that easy. And because I knew that she was going to be there, anybody else wasn't, well, my grandpa. I was anybody else wasn't going to be there. But no, my grandpa. I was a little concerned about him, but it wasn't that hard. And he'd always shown me love, even though he had his ways. Somehow I knew at this point that my grandpa, who was a man's man, a manly man, I knew that he was going to love me regardless. What he told me when I came out to him is that, oh, well, okay, I liked you the other way, but if that's who you are, okay, that's okay then. It was a strange reaction. However, I can tell you, my grandfather, throughout my relationship, because I then got into a very long-term relationship with a young man, and my grandfather got along with him just fine. I mean, he treated him like family. He would come and visit with him and me, and no problems. Give him hugs, everything, which was a blessing to me. And I really felt like I was now free to be who I wanted to be, which means that I could have a relationship with anyone that I wanted to have a relationship with. I could have a family with anyone that I wanted to have a family with. I could do whatever kind of job I wanted to do, but the people that really meant something to me were going to be there for me, and God was really going to be there for me, which took me to the next stage in my life when I decided what I want to do is I want to be a dad. I thought about every kind of way that I could be a dad, but I said, I don't know how I'm going to be a dad, but I'm, you know, I'm going to be a dad. And at the time, I was in a relationship with a young man. So I was thinking, so this isn't going to work the traditional way. So I got to figure this out. I knew that I wanted to be a parent. And not only did I want to be a parent, I wanted to affect the lives of people, you know, um, young people, old people, but I wanted to be a family man. And so that's what I did. And my son is the absolute joy. He is the joy of my life. Having a son, having my son is the best thing that I could have done. Even though the relationship that I was in at the time didn't work out, um, sometimes your partner feels differently. And sometimes you think they're on the same page, but they realize they're not on the same page. But I don't regret my decision. Um, and later on, I got a partner that fully embraced the idea of parenting with me. And we've been really happy. We've been together almost 20 years now, not quite. Actually, it's been worth it. And we have raised our son, together. And right before they decided to make gay marriage legal everywhere, they made marriage legal in New York. So we had the opportunity to go to New York and we were able to get married there. Now, let me tell you, I had a couple of friends that lived in New York, but I had a really, really good friend that lived there, and I was like, we're gonna need a witness. We're gonna need a witness, and so I have somebody that I think will be willing to be our witness, and I was so happy because even though I didn't have like this big grand wedding, like some people think about having a big grand wedding, um, my friend that was there, she was like, there was a time in my life where it's like we had a real connection, and I couldn't have asked for a better person because we had an understanding. We had a way that we could look at each other across the room and know exactly what the other person was thinking. And I always felt like she saw me. She saw me, the real me, even when, sort of like my mom, even when I didn't come right out and say it. So the great thing is that she got to be a part of my wedding, my marriage ceremony. I called her my best woman. And it was just, it was, it was like a fairy tale to me because of the fact that it was something that gay people uh, never expected. I don't think that we really, as much as we were fighting for it, I don't think that we ever thought that we would see the day where we could actually have our own families on our own terms and have them actually be legally recognized. And people don't know how important that is, how important it is to know that if you go into the hospital, that a family member who you may not have gotten along with, who you haven't spoken to in 10 years, can't just come and put your mate out and say, oh, what are you doing here? You can't be here. You can't be a part of this. Maybe at a time when you really need them, when you really need your mate, um, and when they really need to be with you, things like that that people take for granted. The opportunity to be able to raise children with someone that you feel like shares the values and the belief system that you share, and will actually be able there to be there to help you and meet the challenges of raising a family. That's so important to everybody, and we are part of everybody. So I think people need to understand that. And what I really hope is that by sharing a little bit of who I am, that helps somebody. You know, and that's all I've ever wanted to do. My whole life, I've been a service-oriented sort of person. I've worked as a nurse. I've worked as an educator. I've always wanted to be there for people. I've worked for the state in human services. I wanted to make a difference in people's lives, but I also wanted to live life. I wanted to live my life. There's so many young people like me who didn't get a chance to live their lives. Some of them committed suicide. Um, some of them got involved in very toxic and abusive relationships and felt like they had to accept whatever because of who they were. So it's important to me that people know that you can love. Sometimes love doesn't work out, but guess what? You can love again. You deserve love. You are important. Uh, love is important. And I'm just glad to say that for me, love won. Love won.